Not as scary as it sounds, you guys.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. My name is Melody Kleoni with eXp Realty. I'm a real estate agent, a community builder, and a mentor. I'm here sitting with my co host, Jorge Martinez, Catalina Alvarado, and Michael Gallegos. And Freedom Fridays is basically a show that we put together because we like to talk about all things real estate, business, entrepreneurship, and what is going on in the local Bay Area real estate market. So, good morning, you guys.
Good
Morning.
morning. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you that don't know, Catalina and Michael are with the Alvarado. Am I saying that correctly?
Alvarado.
Alvarado team, excuse me. And they're with Fairway Mortgage. And they have been an asset to the real estate community. They work closely with real estate agents and getting their buyers approved, and they're really, really amazing. So I'm so excited to be sitting here with you guys and to pick your brain about what you're seeing in the market today.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
again.
you. Pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're super excited, like Mel said, for you guys to join us today, especially because with like social media, what's going on in the news in today's society, obviously there's a lot of noise clouding a lot of people's judgment. It's creating a lot of chaos in people in the sense that they're like, you know what, the real estate market's going to crash coming into the new year, 2023. We obviously seen something's or the complete opposite of a crash or a downturn. Instead, it's brought out more buyers. So with that being said, we're definitely curious to see what you guys are seeing on your side. I remember reading maybe 2 weeks ago that there was a 28% increase in mortgage applications. So what have you guys been feeling on your end? Because I know as an agent, I've been seeing more buyers come out to where I've had to create more partnerships with agents on our team because it's been an influx for me to be pulled in like 10 different directions. So what are you guys seeing on your end?
Yeah, on my end, I definitely seen a lot of new applications coming in, a lot of new leads from realtors. I believe on a daily basis, I get anywhere from 3 to 5 new leads. And this is as of a few weeks. Yeah. I think the holidays in January was still a little bit quiet, but it seems like the buyers realize that the rates are still very reasonable, in my opinion. And I think the buyers kind of got over that, right? I mean, at the beginning, it's like any news out there, right? The rates went from like 3% to like 5% and so on. But in reality, they're very reasonable, and anybody that wants to get into a home, they understand that there's really not a lot of inventory there. So regardless what the rates are doing, people that really want to become an owner are jumping in and saying, you know what, I'm digested the fact that the rates are no longer 3% because in reality that was due to the COVID, right? And so it was something that a lot of us got blessed with that, and the market obviously did great, but now we're more to a normal market. But in reality, I see a lot of excitement on the buyer side. They really want to like motivated to make offers and to get pre-approved.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same over here as Catalina. I mean, we're hearing offers. For example, last night, George and I were in a little an event, right? And we met a couple people and then had dinner with some of the agents. And um, this agent that's on your team, Kuhn, he had mentioned that an offer he had made, they had over 20 offers. So you're starting to hear these things, how in the past, how, if the home is priced right in the right neighborhood, people are getting excited and people are making offers. People are getting over asking. So it's definitely a good time right now to buy. It's always a good time to buy real estate, right? It's an appreciating asset. So I think just clients are starting to realize, like the interest rates are what they are. I want to buy a home, so they're moving forward instead of renting.
So thank you guys for that as well. And one thing that I'm also really curious about too is that with the interest rates going up, but more people coming out, obviously that means that a lot of people's buying power went down as well. So would you say the people that are coming out are just more qualified than the people that are kind of taking a back seat right now? Or like, what do you think people's motivation is to really come out right now with the higher interest rates and having lower buying power? But now they're all waiving contingencies and still writing at higher over the asking, because right now, like you said, Mike, some properties are getting 20 offers. I mean, there was a property, one of my clients that we're mutually working on together, who put in an offer in East Palo, or wanted to put an offer in East Palo to 650 is what it was listed at. He wanted to put in 600. But when I checked in with the agent, they had 19 offers going over the $800,000 asking price, fully non-contingent, and it was a fixer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what would you guys say then is bringing people's motivation to come back out, especially with a higher interest rate and a lower buying power, but like kind of acting as if they're, what's it called, with a lower interest rate like they were last year, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think rents have a lot to do with that. I mean, rents are still increasing, so people are paying a lot of money in rent. You know, I mean, I'm hearing people paying studios in SF for $4,000 a month when they can go up to the East Bay and buy out here, right? So it's just that I think rents are just getting expensive. I mean, pride of ownership too, right? And having those benefits of just buying your own home. I think people are just getting off the sidelines. You know, they're starting to see, okay, rates are high, homes have come down in price, so they're just like, it's a perfect time to get in right now. So I think that's what a lot of clients are realizing.
Yeah, on my end, what I've noticed is that a lot of the new leads that I'm getting are people that were not in the market prior, so they really don't know what the rates were before or not. Because it's interesting, some people that didn't really think about buying, they were not looking into what the rates were, if the houses were getting multiple offers or not. These are people that decided, you know what, I'm tired of renting. I make enough money to buy. And I mean, I have a few of them that made offers, and they're like, I'm not too concerned about the payment. I just want to get into a home. Because they realized and they got educated that, eventually the rates are going to come down and they'll be able to refinance when rates improve. And so I'm getting a lot of those. So again, people that were not in the market last year and that were not able to get into a home, these are new prospects, new buyers that had no clue that rates were 3%, a year and a half ago or so. So they're not concerned. I think a lot of times the mindset is that if they can afford the payment, it doesn't matter what the rate is. They're just tired of renting. They want to, improve their life by becoming owners.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, Catalina. And I think that you're right. A lot of people have been on the fence the last 6 months because of all of the drama, the news media, the headlines out there. Everyone is just, feeding into this frenzy of, like the news never reports anything positive that's going on, right? The news's job is to grab people's attention and to report all the bad things that are happening in the world and to instill this fear in people. And one thing I think, George, you can agree that we keep hearing is that everyone is on the fence, or some people are on the fence because they think the market is going to bottom out. We're still not at the bottom yet. The market is going to crash. Oh no, I'm not ready to buy yet because I'm going to wait until the market really hits rock bottom. Yeah. And so there's still a lot of people renting, you're right. And there's a lot of people that are still hoping that it's going to go down further. But from what we've seen, we're starting to see multiple offers on properties again. We're starting to see the pre-approval rates jump back up. And it seems like it's going to be a really hot market in 2023 heading into spring and the summer selling season. So how would you address that question with a buyer? And I'm sure you've heard this a million times before, but we think the market is going to crash. We're in no rush. How do you address that?
So that's great. I mean, that's a great question, right? It's like, how can we kind of make people understand that the market's not going to crash, right? So from what I see, just we have a lot of infrastructure based on what happened in 2008, 2009. I mean, Catalina went through that. She knows more about that. But I think we just have more infrastructure. Loans are being qualified well. And then there's not that much inventory either, right? Back in 2008 and 2009, there was a lot of inventory, not many buyers. Now it's the opposite. There's a lot of buyers, but we still have limited inventory, right? So I think that's something that people don't understand, and that's economics, right? That just shows that supply and demand. And I don't think anytime soon is going to crash. If anything, it's just going to level out. My opinion.
Yeah, I think this is, we could potentially go into a healthy market, but not necessarily a crash. And here's why, in my opinion, people have a lot of equity in their property.
Mm-hmm.
So if they decided to buy, even if the market adjusts or corrects itself, there's a lot of equity. So they're not gonna walk away from a home where they could sell it and profit, right? So that's just not realistic. That market's gonna crash. The other thing, a lot of homeowners refinance into a 30-year fix at 3%. So there's just no need for them to do anything on the property. Again, the only thing would be like, there's always a need for a sale, right? Divorce, changes in our jobs, death, and so on, right? But in reality, there's a lot of equity out there that everybody has. So there's, when the market crashed back in 2008, 9, 10, and all those years I was in the market, obviously I was a loan officer back then, and it was a total different market environment. People were buying at 100% financing, and sometimes 105% financing. So, and going into a they got into a negative amortization loan where, again, the loan was increasing, and so if your loan amount is increasing and there's depreciation, obviously people were like walking away. It's like, the house is not worth anymore, let me walk away. And so that's what created that whole crash back then, because of the liberal finances, mortgage financing that went on for many years, right? But that's not the case in this market. And the reality is that inventory has always been an issue. Look, I bought my first home, my triplex, back in 1994. And at that time, it took me 6 months to get into contract. So inventory has always been an issue. So as long as inventory is an issue, there's not going to be any crush or anything like that happening right now. And again, especially that we all know people have a lot of equity in their home.
Yeah.
Right?
I was reading something earlier today, talked about like the average homeowner, and this is in 2022, the second quarter of 2022. They have, the average is $300,000 in equity. The average. This is crazy, right? It's like that's a lot of money, right? So I don't think anything's gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah, and maybe a correction in the market might be something healthy, and it's not a bad thing, but not a crash. I just don't see that being the case.
And thank you both for sharing on that. What's interesting is I actually just had this conversation yesterday with a new buyer that I had an intro call with. And one of the things is that she gave me kind of pushback saying, you know what, I actually want to rent. I'm like, I don't want to get in the house because a market downturn and the house lose value. So what I told her was that, hey, listen, how long have you lived in your current place? She's like, 3 years. I'm like, have they increased the rent each time each year come the new year? And she was like, yeah. And I hate that time. She's like, because I'm paying more for the same place. And I'm like, right, you're paying more and your carpet's just getting more and more messed up, right? It's not new carpet, but yet you're paying more. So she said, yep. So I told her, think of it this way. Yeah, your house could lose value if there is a market downturn or something happens and your house drops value, but your payment stays the same. I said, you can lock in your rate now and you're just paying that same monthly payment toward your own mortgage on a home you own that you can change, pay, do whatever you want to it. And then when it comes time to refi, when rates drop, you can go ahead and refi, and then your monthly payment is probably lower than your rent. I said, so are you going to pay somebody else's triplex off, or are you going to go run and get your own and have other people do the same for you? Because if you don't get in the game now, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Because if you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy in 5 years, but then you're like, damn, that house that I wanted is like $100,000 more. Well, who's winning? Not you, because you shot yourself in the foot and listened to people around you that didn't even know and were giving you advice. Like Mike and I were saying, if you're in your head, you're dead.
Ooh, he is spicy this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I love him. Mic drop. Okay, that's it.
It's probably the Rockstar that kicked in.
What are you drinking? A Monster?
Rockstar.
Oh, okay. I have my coffee. That is crazy. I love the way that you explained that, George. Well said.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask you too, Kat, because I know a few weeks ago we were chatting and you were saying how you used real estate as a vessel to kind of continue to build your real estate portfolio. So that's also another conversation that I've been having with a lot of my buyers, is that, you know what, get in the game. It doesn't have to be your dream house. It's your first house. It can be the ugliest house on the block, but just buy it. Because like I just said a few seconds ago, is that you're going to lock in your monthly mortgage and you're paying yourself, you're paying your future, your generations to come. So how was your experience getting into the real estate game? And then how did you leverage that to build your real estate portfolio where it's at now?
Yeah. So when I first started inquiring about purchase at home, I learned about FHA, and I learned that you can buy a multi-unit property with as little as 3.5% down. And I'm like, oh, I like that. Let me, so I started doing my numbers and just started like projecting, that if I could get into a home and not having an actual mortgage payment, because the other 2 units or 3 units we're going to pay for the mortgage, right, then I could save quite a bit of money so I can move on to the next level, right, and buy another home, which I did. And I was very blessed to have found a property that it was a triplex. It was a corner lot that there was a single family right in the corner lot, and then the other 2 units were on the other side of the street. So long story short, we ended up buying a very, very, it was back in 1994, obviously. So we bought it for like $169.
Jesus.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
169,000. Was it duplex or triplex?
It was a triplex. Yeah.
94th and Cherry.
Back then salaries were very low. I was making maybe 50, 60,000 back then. And my husband was maybe 60,000. So, but, and here's the thing, we were able to qualify for a lot more in a single family. And I remember looking at some of the single families like, gosh, I like this. This is neat. But the mindset was like, I want to build wealth with real estate. And again, back then we didn't have internet and things like that. So it was hard to kind of educate yourself or do some research on this, right? But somehow my mindset was like, if I can just do this, and I was a renter, obviously, right? And so one of the things that I remember telling my realtor, because he's like, well, you can, and I was living in Oakland. He's like, well, you can actually buy in San Leandro. It's a nice city. You can buy a single family. You can qualify for like 300,000, 400,000. And back then, 400,000 was like, oh my God, a lot of money, right?
Like $1 million.
Yeah.
But then I thought, so I'm a renter. I already live here in Oakland. What if I better my life by buying a triplex? I will better my life. Yes, I can go and buy something, more expensive. But again, the mindset for me was I want to start building wealth through real estate. And so that was the idea behind buying a triplex. So we stayed there, and then
next thing you know, Oakland, Catalina?
It was in Oakland, yeah.
Oakland. Okay, because I know you live in Tracy now. In this, what do they call it? A drug dealer mansion. Elias called me from your house and he goes, Catalina is a part of the cartel. That's it. Like, her house is amazing. It's like biggest, like the best party house in the world. So anyways, side note, I'm going to have to come check out your house because everyone keeps talking about how cool it is. But so
thank you.
This was in Oakland.
Yeah, I'm in the real estate cartel. That's what I'm in. And that's why I was able to get here. So, the industry is also a cartel. So anyway, but it was in Oakland. And again, and I remember when I first got the keys to the triplex. And again, it was an old home. It had a brick foundation. So it was pretty, it it was livable, but it had green carpet. But I swear, I still remember the emotion I felt when I first got the keys. And I remember calling my mom up, and I'm like, let's go to Walmart and buy stuff, right? And I loved it, right? So I can tell you that when we bought this home where we're at right now, the emotion wasn't even there as much as it was when I bought my very first home, a triplex in Oakland. So again, I think your first home, it's just very emotional. It's a big accomplishment, and it's the start of building wealth. That's how I feel, right? And obviously I've been able to, going back to the triplex and how did I leverage. Later on we got a call saying, like, your house is now worth 250 or 300. You can put a line of credit and buy another home. And so we did. I end up later on in the process, I end up pulling some money, and I ended up buying another triplex in Hayward. It was a partnership. So partnerships are okay as long, I know that a lot of times that's how people leverage. My personal mentor started his real estate business 40 years ago by partnering out with other people. And he's doing the business, and he's grown so much. And he still has those partnerships, by the way. So partnering up, it's a good thing. So you can leverage and you can grow. But so we got a line of credit, but another triplex. And then from there, we bought a brand new construction in Tracy for my kids, and added a pool, and it was just amazing, right? So market crash, obviously we all got impacted in the business, but there was a lot of opportunity. So, there was opportunity back then because obviously market crash but there was a lot of fear, just no different than what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, there's always opportunity.
Right.
Always, whether the market is low, high, whatever, real estate is an opportunity.
Right. Ownership
is a huge opportunity that would take your finances to the next level, regardless of what the rates are.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well said, Catalina. This idea of generational wealth, I think that, when I think about myself 9 years ago and getting into real estate, I didn't come from a background where my parents were savvy enough to purchase real estate. They came here, they were from a third world country, the Middle East, and they never knew to open up a retirement account or to save and purchase rental properties. I mean, they lived in one house their whole life, and that was their house, and they were hard workers, and they paid their bills, and they never went on vacation, and they were very, very conservative. And so 9 years ago, when I got into real estate, I said, you know what? I think, first of all, this is a great opportunity to be able to help people. But also, this is a great opportunity to be able to create some sort of a generational wealth for myself so that I can be able to give something to my kids at the end of the day. And not saying that my parents aren't, able to provide anything for me at the end of the day. They were amazing parents. I love them, they gave me the best life, and I'm very grateful for that. But, I think that vision that I had, I always am a big dreamer. I'm a big thinker. I always want bigger and better. And so that's why I got into it. And I'm still learning about real estate investing today. And you're right. I think there's always an opportunity, and it's the way that you look at things. And, real estate is always a risk. There's never a guarantee. And no one has a crystal ball in front of them, right? I mean, I'm sure when you were purchasing this $160,000 property in Oakland, you were probably scared, But at the end of the day, you have to take that leap of faith at some point. And I think the people that do that are the people that end up being successful at the end of the day versus being scared. And whenever someone wants to purchase a house, there's always someone in the background, like an aunt or an uncle or a grandmother saying, oh no, don't do it. You know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. You know what's sad is that we always go to get advice from the wrong people, right? Even if they're relatives, they mean well, I get that, but you always want to consult with an expert. I mean, right? When you go to the doctor, I mean, when you're not feeling good, you go to the doctor. And even though some people tell you it might be this, it might be that, you end up going to the expert, right? Which is the doctor. So no different in real estate. I think people should just really consult with the professional that they can trust. And you know what? Intuition, we all have that. So if you're consulting with someone that you don't think they're being transparent or they're not really guiding you the right way, your instinct's gonna tell you go find someone else. Because I tell you, there's a lot of us out here that are very transparent, that just want to help and guide. In my opinion, that's always been my case, right? And if someone asks me like, what do you think, I kind of, give them guidance and try to like have them leverage. I mean, I recently had a lead that has $250,000 cash, in the bank, and he wants to buy a home cash. And I'm like, why not buy 203 with 250,000? Why don't you buy your primary and you can do 3.5% down, and then buy 2 other investment properties with, he's looking to buy in Stockton. So I'm thinking 250,000, you can buy literally, a few rental properties and your primary. And he's like, I didn't think about that, because again, conservative fear. Like, I just want to pay it, and I don't. So just in case something, well, you know what? The mindset you have to have that growth mindset and leverage.
Definitely agree with you there. What's interesting is that as I've learned more about real estate and leveraging your first property to buy your next and continue to do that ripple effect and build your real estate portfolio, I've had more of those conversations even with my own clients. And what kind of just shocks me sometimes is that once I have that conversation with them, they're like, wow, I didn't think of that. I'm like, yeah, I literally had it yesterday where someone was like, oh, my aunt is telling me I should offer this. And I was like, hey, no disrespect to your aunt, but is your aunt a real estate agent? What does she do? She's like, oh, she works in tech. I was like, okay, you're probably listening to the wrong person. But anywho, like, you just got to get in your first property and really just build from there. And when I've had those open dialogue conversations with people, they've been more receptive to it. And they're like, oh, snap, I didn't realize I could buy a home, pull a HELOC on it in a few years to leverage and buy another home and have those people pay for my rent and then continue to do it and move up. So I think that's something that I'm personally working on, is changing that up in the content that I put out there. Because we went to a social media conference yesterday, and that's one of the things is you're creating that parasocial marketing and helping educate people, because a lot of people don't know that you could do this in real estate. I mean, before I even became a realtor, I thought, you know what, it's cute, like selling sunset, get to write a contract up, show some nice houses. But it's really like, I read it somewhere the other day where they said, sorry, I'm word vomiting today, but most millionaires or the rich people created their wealth through real estate. Real estate is always appreciating. Yeah, it can drop from time to time, but at the end of the day, it's the best investment you can make. I mean, I'm definitely seeing that on my end, because I bought a couple $1,000s worth of Tesla stocks and now I'm down 12 grand. But you know what? At least with the real estate, your money is a lot safer, because if there's a market crash, you lose your job, well, looks like your house is turning into a community home and you're renting out some rooms.
Yeah. So, it's tangible. It's something that no matter what, we all going to need a roof over our head, right? So real estate is just, and I remember when I first bought my triplex, people were like, but what if you don't rent it out? What if it's vacant? What if it's this? You know what? Until this date, I've never had issues renting properties. They never been vacant. So I can tell you, it works, right? Last year or the year before, I think it's 2021, I had an executive from Google, works at Google, and she's trying to buy, and she had obviously the 20% down, but she expressed that she just wanted to start building, right, real estate, and if would it be ideal, and if she could qualify for as little as like an FHA, and I'm like, why not? Long story short, she took my advice, bought a duplex. Not a single family, because she could afford a single nice family home, and she bought a nice duplex in a really nice neighborhood. One of the units was already rented out, and the other unit was vacant. So we went into FHA, and obviously her income is up there, and I'm like, you can still do it. Are you sure? Yes. Close that deal, and now she called back. She's like, okay, I'm ready to buy another home with 5% down. I said, let's do it. because there's no restriction, right? So again, people, even if you have money, if you want to leverage your money, you start with an FHA, then you build that, go to a 5% down single family. And then again, you can buy another investment property, multi-units, or whatever the case is. But I think starting with minimum down payment, you can go.
So what is this idea, Catalina? I've heard this from other real estate investors before, but it's true that start with the FHA for your first investment property. You can do as little as 3.5% down. And then, of course, there's the PMI tacked onto that. So your mortgage payments are a little bit high for the first year or two. But then is it true that you can refinance that rate back down into a conventional or
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you can. And you can get out of the FHA as soon as you have enough equity there and then put it into a conventional. And then when you turn that into a conventional, you can still qualify for your next purchase as with 5% down.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So is that something that you would recommend?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, yes, the FHA is there, but for instance, for my client, even though the MI was there, out of pocket, it was gonna be like $600 out of pocket for her.
Wow.
Her rent was like $3,000.
Wow. Where is this?
She actually ended up buying in Vallejo.
In Vallejo. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's again, it's the mindset, right? Is it where do you want to take your investments or your real estate investment to, whatever level you want, and with whatever funds you have or whatever. Again, just and I think for me, it's like when people start expressing what they want, then I'll start like exploring. Because if I have someone that says, I have 20% down, I don't care, I want to, of course, it's all good, right? But when they start expressing that they want to like grow their portfolio in real estate, then I'm like, okay, you can probably do this and that. Because what I find sometimes is that they'll buy a single family and then they want to buy a fourplex. So, well, guess what? You need 25% down.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? I say you should have bought a fourplex first and then move into a single family with as little as 5% down.
Oh, well, shoot. Then I messed up. I need to just, start.
So you not necessarily messed up. So I had a client back in 2020 when he bought a house in Hercules. And guess what he did? He rented out a room with Airbnb.
Oh,
so a room, and he lives in it. And crazy things, we were at his house, and then somebody was staying there with him for the week because I guess they had family or something like that there.
Okay.
And they're there for about like a week or two, and they paid him.
So you can just Airbnb your bedroom out.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
I hear a lot of properties that have the accessory unit as well, and they're being rented out as Airbnb, and they're killing it. Yeah.
Or another thing that you can do is that, and we talked about this yesterday, right, Catalina? Is that if you have a single family and you have enough room to build an ADU, you can go with the renovation loan and do it.
Okay, so is that the FHA 203K loan?
No, not necessarily. There's a 203K and there's the conventional renovation as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having a lot of success with that program. But here's the thing. I think the message, if I was a realtor, this is a message that I would give my prospects, right? My buyers. Find out what their goal is first, right? What are they trying to accomplish? Because I remember one of my very first clients, it was a young kid. He was very young. And he was renting, but he decided, you know what? I'm going to buy a condo. So if he bought a condo, like a 2-bedroom, and he wasn't making enough money back then, but he ended up renting the 2 rooms, and he was sleeping in the living room on the couch. He was single. He was like, I just want a girl, right? So I thought that was very creative on his end. So he's like, oh, they're paying my mortgage. So he started like, saving money, and then so he kept that as a rental, and then he bought another property, and that's how he started building his portfolio. I mean, he's like, I'm a single. I mean, he was like 22 or so.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get into something, and and so he ended up renting the 2 rooms, single guy, and so again, it's just people could get very creative, right? A lot of the other thing too is that some clients live in an apartment, and the only thing they can afford is a condo. So my message to them will be, buy a condo because you're going to better your situation. You're going to go from a tenant to owning.
Right.
Yes, you might not upgrade and get that 5-bedroom home or 3-bedroom home or whatever the case is, but you're upgrading from an apartment to a condo or a townhome, but it's yours. You're going to build equity there, right? And so a lot of times, again, when you just start talking to them, and because the mindset sometimes, right? They're like, no, I live in an apartment. I don't want to go live in an apartment, but you can't afford a home. Either you're going to stay there and continue paying someone else's mortgage, or you're going to upgrade to a townhome or a condo, but it's yours. You can write off the interest, you can write off the property taxes, build equity, and then sell and buy once you have equity. I mean, there's so many people that start there and then eventually move into a single family or a dream home, right? So just the mindset.
It's
Yeah,
just
totally.
it,
Go ahead.
it's kind of like Kat, how you just said the other day. You're getting creative with the home you live in now, right? Because you want to go travel and do more in life. That you're going to be turning your current home that you live into as like a retreat or a rental where people can rent out for like weddings and whatnot.
Airbnb, yes, that's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so she's gonna go and expand the cartel and just continue renting out.
Pretty much.
The thing is, everybody that comes over, they're like, "Oh my God, this is like a mini resort, and you can rent it out." And so we call actually it's part of the county, so this is not in the actual city of Tracy. So we called the county. I told my husband, you know what? Why don't we just find out? Because again, the idea came from somebody else, actually, right? And I'm listening. I'm like, maybe it's not a bad idea. So we call, and I'm like, do you guys have any restrictions on Airbnb and this and that? They're like, no restriction. You can go and rent your property however you want to rent it, short term or long term. We don't care. You don't even need a permit. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, then maybe we should. So anyway, but yeah, it's I think educating people and being open to suggestions, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's what I love about you guys is that you guys are really in it for the people. You're really in it to help people. And I can tell because you're so active in the real estate community. You really, what I love about you, Catalina, in particular, is, I mean, we don't really know each other that well, but I can tell that like you are a lover of life. You're a lover of people. You love celebrating. You love having a good time. I mean, you're constantly active in the community. You're always doing these tacos and tequila. You're always doing a party at one of our Oakland office is like always a party because of you. You're always sponsoring events. You're always doing fun things. And you're not just saying this, oh, building generational wealth, is important. No, I can tell that you really mean it and that you really want to help people because you're so active in the community and you're really having these conversations with real estate agents and buyers and sellers every day, and that's something that I really love about you guys. And I think that we share that same heart because I come from the same family. I come from the same upbringing. And, George, I know you're the same way too. So, yeah, I think this was like such a great conversation to have because it is one of the most important things. People don't talk about generational wealth enough at the dinner table at home. And I think that that's something that I craved that growing up. I wanted to learn all of these things. And so it's so nice to know, that you guys understand this and that you can actually help buyers right now in this market. Even though some people might think it's scary, you guys have been there. You're a real estate investor. You've done it before. You've got the 25 years worth of experience and you can actually sit down and talk people through this and help them through this market. Something else that I heard is, mortgage applications are back up on the rise. Can you talk about this? And can you tell us what you're seeing right now in the market? Are people starting to come back? I mean, we're seeing the multiple offers, but what are you seeing on your end in the mortgage sector?
Yeah, definitely a lot more applications. As I mentioned early, people are motivated to buy. They, some of them some of the calls that I get is like, not ready. I kind of want to get the process started, and so I'll be ready by May or whatever. And our advice has been get pre-approved now if you're already inquiring, and get into a home now before the spring, because that's when you're gonna see a lot more multiple offers. And so people, I think, are more open into advice and listening. And next thing you know, they're submitting all their paperwork, getting their full underwritten approval, and they start shopping right away, because we know as professionals how hot the market could get during the spring, right? So people that are, and I kind of want to find the right word here. I was going to say people that like to take smart decisions, are acting now,
Right.
and so tons of applications. They're not waiting. I think they kind of get it. I think social media has a lot to do with it, because they're hearing some of the messages, right? Like, get on it now. Don't wait till everybody, especially like families with kids, right? We all know that they're going to start buying or selling right around the spring, so that when the school year starts, they're already into a new home. So there's a lot more competition out there. So anytime I get a new prospect, that's the message that I'm giving. And also my realtor partners, same thing, because that's reality.
Yeah.
100%. I totally agree. And, a lot of people don't understand this. And this is something that I talk to my buyers about. But there is, like you said earlier, there's an opportunity in every market, right? But there's especially a window of opportunity in a market that could potentially be, let's say we are in a recession. Let's say the market is going to crash, right? It's not happening, but let's just say it is. The opportunity there is different than an opportunity where everything is going $100,000 above list price. There's 18 offers on the property, and you're having to overbid in order to get something. So the opportunity in that moment is, okay, this is where millionaires are made. You can buy a property for less money and compete against less offers in a downturn market and get something for a really good price, or negotiate some type of a credit, negotiate a lower price for yourself, and to be able to get into something for a lot less money than you would have if this was 2020, 2021. And I think most people, they're feeding into this fear of, oh, the market's going to crash. Well, that's actually, for you, if you're a buyer, that's a good thing. Not saying the market's crashing. Again, not saying that. We're not seeing that, because like George said, there's 19 offers on a property that he's trying to write an offer on. I saw 8 offers on a property in Alameda. There's another 15 properties on an offer we wrote in Concord last week. So market's definitely not crashing, but there's an opportunity in every market. And the millionaires are made in the downturn of the market. If you look at 2008, all the people that lost that money and then they reinvested that money are now way better off than they were before, right? So
yeah. And another thing I'm going to add to that: investors will not sell when the market crashes, right? They don't have to.
Right.
So what difference does it make whether you buy at this on this market or when it crashes, right? At the end of the day, if you want to make a profit, you sell at the right time. So you're
Right.
not going to sell when the market crashes. Why would you want to do that, right?
Right.
And so I think a lot of times the investors or the millionaires, they're going to hold on to their investments, and they'll sell when it's time and when there's a profit. But if there's no profit, the market's crashing, and properties are not selling or whatever, you can still rent it out, right? I mean, you don't have to. You're not forced to sell at a downturn.
Right. 100%. And I'm just curious, what type of programs are you guys seeing out there for first-time buyers right now? For all the first-time home buyers that are listening to this, what is out there right now? I know that California always comes out with a new program every year.
Yeah, I know that they're coming out with one in March, and I know there's a lot of lenders out there in social media, but in reality, we don't know the guidelines yet. So I know that personally, I'm not on social media advertising something that I don't even know what it is, right? I know we've been hearing some rumors. We have reached out to them, and they're like, we don't know yet, so you don't say anything. So But I hear 10% down, 20% down of down payment assistance. But in reality, we don't know. But I'm sure that we'll probably start hearing soon. I know it starts in March. So call FHA. Obviously, it's one of my favorite agencies for down payment assistance, just because for the most part they don't run out of funds on their standard down payment assistance. The only thing is that, in my opinion, is that if you have your 3.5% down, you're gonna be better off coming in with your own funds than going with the down payment assistance, just because they do have their own guidelines. So a lot of times it's gonna limit you to what you're gonna be able to buy. Rates are also higher with down payment assistance. But if that's the only way to get into a home, let's do it. That's usually my advice. Yeah. But we're seeing, anywhere from FHA 3.5% down to 5% down and up. There's a conventional with 3% down as well. So my recommendation to the prospect or the buyers is usually, let's take a look at your finances. Let's take a look at your credit score, because as we know, conventional is very FICO driven. So if they're like on the lower FICO scores, then we're gonna go ahead and recommend an FHA and explain why, right? But FHA is a great product, very flexible. The rates are actually better than the conventional a lot of times, so it's a great product.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Mel.
There we go. Sorry. I'm muting it because I have the cleaners at my house today and the vacuum is going off. Yeah. So, George, do you have anything to add to that, or any parting words before we wrap up today?
I definitely do not, because you guys, I have to say, this was such a great open dialogue that we had. Yeah. Honestly, I think everything that we did touch base on today is a lot of things that a lot of people don't know. And to us, we're in it every day. So as we learn this and we're around people that are already doing all of these strategies to get into homeownership, it seems so normal to us that when we chat with people who don't know much about real estate, this is the type of dialogue that we need to really be sharing. And it's a huge conversation. And I feel like a lot of people, as you said, Kat, earlier, that the people that you're seeing now, like put in mortgage applications, were people that were just kind of like out of sight, out of mind a year ago. Like, these are the people that took the time probably to save up more, to educate themselves more, to feel comfortable and confident in moving forward. And it's just like, we have to, just being in the industry as lenders, realtors, we have to continue to educate people, the masses, with this. So thank you guys so much for joining us today, because it was such a great dialogue that I feel like a lot of people really and truly need to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. This conversation about generational wealth, about helping people, about giving back to your community, and getting in front of this crazy market right now. And one of the things that I'd like to add to that is that everyone keeps talking about, I think people are just starting to catch up to what is going on in the market. A lot of people are just starting to understand, that the market's actually not going to crash, and the conversations are starting to change. And it's something where you can never sleep on it. Like, the market is constantly shifting. We saw a market shift 6 months ago. Now the market is shifting again. You're constantly having to stay in front of these things. And so if you're listening to this today, if you guys have any questions at all for the Fairway team here, Catalina and Mike, send them a message. Where can they find you guys if they would like to contact you, or if someone has some questions about home ownership?
So you can follow me on Instagram at moneymike_fairway.
Same here. Catalina Alvarado at Fairway. And yeah, we're on social media, so Instagram is probably a good place to start. And Melody, I want to acknowledge you for doing this. This is huge. This is something that is needed for the community. So I congratulate you on putting this together. It's I think a lot of us kind of want to do it, but we don't. And one of the things that I always admire about you, you're a warrior. You're like on it, and I'm going to do this. So I think you're making a lot of difference out there in the community, both in the prospects and then in the real estate colleagues and things like that. So I congratulate you for doing that and having the courage to put this together, because I tell you, we all talk about being on social media, but for whatever reason, we have all these excuses. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, that's so sweet. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Kat. It's something that I love to do. And I know you love to do this too. You like just bringing people together. And so, it's kind of something that I always enjoy to do. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much. If you want to get the instant replay, just send me a DM or a private message. More than happy to send this to you guys. But if not, then we will see you next Friday. Thanks, guys.
That's good. Thank you. Take care.
Okay.